This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we preview the spring season for Bates rowing. We also take a look back on a very successful NCAA Championships for the women's swimming team. All 9 Bobcats returned as All-Americans. Plus, the women's lacrosse team beat Williams for the 4th straight season, and the baseball team is ready for NESCAC play after a strong week of non-conference action. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The men's lacrosse team got the week started Tuesday with a 12-9 win at Keene State before falling on the road to Williams by a score of 16-14. Despite the loss, the Bobcats are ranked 12th in the country and sit just a half game out of first place in the NESCAC. And the women's lacrosse team is still ranked 21st in the nation after the Bobcats picked up their second NESCAC win of the season, defeating the Eefs 13-11 on Saturday at Garcelon Field. Senior Katie Allard scored 4 goals, and sophomore Margaret Smith added 2 goals and 3 assists in the come-from-behind victory. It's the 4th straight season the Bates women's lacrosse team has defeated the Eefs. We caught up with head coach Brett Allen after the game.
I definitely feel like we were very prepared. We had a really early midweek game this week, which kind of gave us 4 days to get ready. So we were able to watch some film, do some things that are, going to help us play well and obviously prepare for them. So I think that helped, but we're also in that time of year where it gets a little tougher academically for everybody and the stress level goes up. And so just the fact that they were able to handle that through the week and come in this morning ready to go was a testament to them.
4 straight years beating Williams. Most of the games have been pretty close, though, it seems like.
I didn't know that. I remember last year's game, and then before that, it's hard to remember all of them. But, I think every team we play is really good. If Williams really scares me, they have some very good athletes who are just great players. And, I think if you let them get on a run, they can really hurt you. And in the first half, we kind of gave them a little bit of momentum, and we were luckily able to keep them close so we could catch up and then overtake them.
Right, because the first half you played from behind pretty much the whole time. Didn't have your first lead, I think, until the second half. But as you mentioned, it was never more than like a 2-goal game, it seemed like.
Yeah, it was back and forth in the first half, and we were either tied or behind the whole time. I think collectively the team felt like if we cleaned up a few things on the clear and then obviously took advantage of our possessions on offense, the opportunities would keep coming, and we were able to, play a little cleaner in the second half, and that helped us.
Allard led the way in terms of goals. Margaret Smith having a great year as a sophomore, right?
Yeah, they both played really well today. I think Katie's always been a little bit of a finisher, and Margaret's certainly a finisher as well. But the thing that stood out for me today with Margaret was her ability to keep her head up and find her teammates. I mean, she had 2 or 3 assists, I think, if my memory serves me well.
And then defensively in the second half, Eliza made some key saves there, huh?
Yeah, Eliza was really good. We've kind of been bouncing back and forth a little bit between her and Rachel the last couple of weeks. And Eliza had a great week in practice. She earned the opportunity to play, and, I thought she was really doing a good job. And obviously it's nice to have somebody who's a senior and has some experience and doesn't get rattled when, those last 2 minutes there, they were getting some possessions and putting some shots on us.
Yeah, at the end, you just got to hold on, right? Once you get the ball, hold on to it as long as you can.
Well, we have the 90-second possession clock, and this game used to be so boring because if the team was ahead at the end, they'd just try and stall. And now you can't really stall because you've got to create within that 90 seconds. But certainly when we were short on time at the end, to not have to force a clear to go down and then, force a shot to catch up was a nice luxury to have.
Got a full week to prepare for an always tough Hamilton team, right?
Hamilton's really good. I feel like they're similar to Williams. They have a lot of really great athletes who have some experience. They have some really fast, speedy kids who are skilled. So we're going to need to have a good week. Tonight's a fun night at Bates for Gala, so the girls get about 24 hours off to just kind of have some fun and be a college kid. But then, we'll get right back at it on Monday.
All right, Coach, thanks so much.
Thanks, Aaron.
The women's swimming team finished 20th in the nation at the NCAA Championships last week. With a record-tying 9 women making the trip, Bates opened the meet by taking 8th in the 200-yard medley relay, and the Bobcats did not look back, impressing despite having a number of first-time competitors at nationals. Head coach Peter Casares reflects on a strong finish to the season.
Yeah, the goal was to get there and swim faster and score some points for the college, and you can only do that at night. So for years we've gone and brought athletes to the meet, and not everybody has been able to experience a night swim. So knowing that we brought our biggest contingent of women ever, and all of them are coming home with an All-American certificate and the experience of scoring points and knowing they belong at that meet, is a huge step in our confidence, a huge step in our direction for the program, knowing that the cupboard's pretty full with people with experience and a desire to get back.
First day, right off the bat, top 8 performance in one of the relays, right? Tell us about that team and what they did.
Yeah, that was literally the best way possible to start off the meet. They jumped into their heat. I think they were in lane 3 or 2. There was 2 or 3 teams ahead of us in that heat, and they got second. And when you are second in the prelim heats, you go, wow, we have a chance here to be top 8. And as the following heats progressed, there we were, 8th in the country. Like that first team All-American status, getting the trophy to bring back at night and walking up on the podium to kick off nationals. I think it really just showed them that, yeah, we can swim at the highest level at the biggest meet possible, and we're doing it with a lot of new faces, and let's have some fun this weekend.
Female Bobcat of the Week, Caroline Apathy, got third in the butterfly, 100-yard butterfly, and a tie for third. That sounds like a very close race.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing race to watch unfold. All 5 women, 5 out of the 8 women were neck and neck the entire way, separated by a tenth or less as the race unfolded. And Caroline was tough. She swam her race really well, had a great final turn with a great kick out and brought it home. And I think she went from 5th to 3rd on that last lap. And she tied with somebody, and then she beat an opponent by .01. So even the person behind them in 5th was right there, and for her to get that touch out and come out with that 3rd place spot was huge. She was 11th last year, so to finish 3rd this year at the meet was great, and she's got to honestly feel like she could win this thing one year. I mean,
right.
It's tenths away, and her best time ever would have been in contention for the win. So she should have some big goals going forward, and I think ones that make her smile, not scare her.
I was going to say the person who won that race was a senior, right, at Williams. So, I mean, she's got 2 more years to try to get a national title under her belt.
Yeah, and, you know, the one that got 1/100th slower was Mary Lorita from Bowdoin, who ended up beating Caroline twice in our dual meet by 1/100th of a second. So, you know, it was nice to have that touch out there. It was nice to know that you beat the national champion once in the season. At NESCAC conferences, and that you've got 2 more shots at it. And should things continue to go the direction that they are with Caroline, you know, I don't think we're going to put any limits on what's possible. But in the end, you know, you just go there and you try to race, and you can only control what's in your lane. So you put together the best race, and hopefully you've got that ability to close and finish with that new best time in that highest finish ever. And Caroline does that at the big meets. It was really awesome to see.
One exciting thing about this team is you only had one senior travel to NCAAs, and that was Lucy Faust, and she did really well also, right?
She did. She came to that meet, and Lucy was unbelievable. I mean, she jumped in on our 200 free relay in the morning and went her lifetime best swim right on it. Then she went and swam the 800 free relay, and again was right on her lifetime best. And then in the mile on her last swim, she was just a second slower or 2 than her lifetime best. And you just, you know, when you see someone that's been there for 3 years and you see that when they need to be their best, they're right on it, you have a lot of respect for that, because, you know, everybody else goes to that meet and they add a second, they add a couple tenths. Some drop, some do this, some do that, but it is hard to do. And she didn't give us any indication that, you know, a lifetime best wasn't possible, and she also swam at her best every swim she did swim, and I think that comes from consistency. And I just hope that all those first years, we had 6 rookies this year go to the national meet, and they had some great swims, and they had some swims that were kind of just slightly off. And I think they all can say to themselves, if I keep coming back to this meet, I'm going to be like Lucy. I'm going to jump up there and I'm going to go my lifetime best or better. Not, I hope this works out. It's going to be there. And I think that experience for Lucy paid off, and we saw it in her races. And I was just extremely thankful that she was so dependable.
And also, she got a Fulbright recently, she found out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to be Lucy Faust right now. She went lifetime best at NESCAC. She qualified for nationals on relays. She's never qualified for it before. Then she went to California to watch her sister in a play, and that was the first time she was able to do that. And on the trip home, she found out she was a Fulbright winner. And then the next week, she was heading off to nationals, and she's coming home a 2-time All-American. So it's just it was a great time, and everything she had hoped would happen came true. And I think that's the icing on the cake when you look at a 4-year career.
You touched on the first years and the first timers who got to go to NCAAs. What do you think? What do you hope? You mentioned that maybe a little bit more about what they learned from the experience.
Yeah, I think they learned that it's a long meet. I think they learned that the last month of swimming together as a group is really special. And you want to get that extra month of training in, and you want to get that time to head to nationals because it does pay off. As I mentioned earlier, they learned that they can get to that meet and they belong there. And then the other thing that we talked a lot about is if we're going to be that top 10 team in the country, we need individuals there, not just relays. And we kind of took this approach to say, okay, we're going to swim fast relays, but let's also, when no one's looking, swim some other events in this pool and see how fast we can go just off the coach's stopwatch. And I did that so that they could go times that were fast individually and go, yeah, if I get to this meet and I have to swim individually and on relays, I've been there and done that before. And so this was whole, I hate to say anything like a rebuilding year. So we brought 9 to nationals, but we lost 5 senior national level athletes last year that had been there 2 or 3 times. Logan McGill 4 times, Teddy Pender 3 times, Riley 4 times. I mean, these people knew what was happening and knew what to do. And so when we bring 6 out of 9 that are brand new to the meet, one of our returners was abroad for a semester.
Right.
You go, what's going to happen? And what happened was they swam fast. They were tough. They swam extra events when no one was looking. And they know that if they get back next year, no matter what's thrown their way, they're going to be able to handle that. And that was what we wanted. We were 20th in the country. We scored in all 5 relays. All 9 of them came back at night and scored points, and we're all Americans. And now they know I can do it, and I'm ready for it when it happens again. And that's going to be what takes us to the next level when we bring in another recruiting class, and they want to get there too.
Yeah, you touched on that. Yannicka Ho was abroad in the fall, and she will be a senior next year, probably expecting big things from her in her final season.
Yeah, she, not to get too personal, but she looked at me and said, those races hurt. And I want to start training so that they don't feel like that again. And I said, Yannicka, that's music to my ears because she is a very special athlete with tremendous talent. And when she showed up on campus in January, she worked her tail off. But it was 6 weeks. And then it was NESCACs. And then those last 4 weeks, there's only so much you can do to get to that next level, physiologically speaking. And she dealt with trying to make herself go as fast as possible with less in the tank. Her aerobic capacity wasn't as big as years past. So she knows what needs to happen. She knows that she can swim fast no matter what. And if she takes an excitement and passion and engagement into her summer of fitness and training and then rolls it into the fall, you could see her have a monster senior season that just turns heads everywhere.
Yeah, it must be nice to finish 20th, top 20 in the country when you mentioned it was kind of a rebuilding year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was one of our best years ever. We finished 4th in the conference.
Yeah.
We finished 20th in the nation. But we had a lot of learning to do. We had 11 freshmen, 12 freshmen on the team, on the women's team. We had the same on the men's team. And so we were learning what it meant to be a Bates swimmer, what it meant to compete for the college, what it meant to swim your best when it was the toughest and the hardest and the greatest competition out there. So with half of your team learning that for the first year, you go and say, wow, the men finished 5th, which was 1 up. The women finished 4th, which was 2 up from last year. And then you go to nationals and everybody scores. You go, that's the experience and the rebuilding, in quotation marks, the rebuilding
right.
that you really hope exists so that you can flirt with that top 10 program in the country, which has always been the goal here at Bates.
Now you got swim lessons, right? That's what's up next for the swimming team?
Yep, we showed up Sunday from a flight back from North Carolina, and I said, all right, as I dropped him off around 2:30, I'll see you at 4 for swim lessons, and we had 90 kids show up. taught some lessons last night, and now they're going to start coming back for the next eight or so days over the next 2 weeks and teach some kids some swimming, get them excited about the sport, teach them something that's important in life and survival and all that jazz, and really just spread the love in the community and get involved. And so it's tough as a college athlete to juggle a swim season, academics, and all that goes on, and then have this thrown your way too. But they get here and they smile and they have a great time together as a team, and they have a great time sharing their love with the kids in the community. And that makes me smile even bigger because we're swimming fast, but we're doing more than just being swimmers.
All right, Peter Casares, women's swimming 20th in the nation this year. Thanks so much.
You bet. Go Bobcats.
Sophomore Caroline Apathy earned 5 All-America honors at NCAAs, giving her 10 for her career so far. A third place showing in the 100-yard butterfly stood out among her performances. And Caroline Apathy is our female Bobcat of the week. 4 days there at the NCAA Championships last week in North Carolina. First day, you're part of a medley relay team, the 200-yard medley that gets first team All-America, 8th place. That was quite the way to start off the NCAA Championships, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really fun. We were really trying to get top 16 in all the relays, and when we made top 8, that was a very exciting moment to happen, especially I swam with Yannicka before in the medley relay, but with Emmy and Susie, it was really fun, and it was a nice experience to have, for it to be on the first day, too.
Right. I was going to say, so you have the morning swim, right? And if you get top 8 in the morning, you get to race in the final, right? And so at that point, it's kind of all gravy a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, when you make top 8, you make podium automatically. Yeah. But the top 16, put 9th place to 16th place, you're in the B final, where you get a second chance of swimming, but you don't get a trophy or at the end, so
you got a trophy, though, for the 200-yard medley.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And in the butterfly, coming in as the top seed, what was going through your mind, kind of? Was there a lot of, did you feel a lot of pressure?
Yes and no. Mm-hmm. I felt pressure to get top 8 in the 100 fly. I just wanted to, in the morning, all I was focused on was making top 8 because girls were going to go faster. So I was in my heat, and I was next to Maya Hare again, like I did at NESCAC, and it was really fun because we like swimming against each other. And so I tried not to focus on being the top seed at all because that would have kind of messed me up a little bit, but yeah.
And in the final, you tied for 3rd. That's a tight race.
Yeah, I had no idea I tied at all until 10 minutes before we got up for the podium. I was really happy that I got 3rd. I was ecstatic because I didn't really have any expectations, and I didn't know I was going to score that high. Looking back on the race, it was really, really close, and it could have been anyone. Mary Larita, who swims for Bowdoin, she got 4th, and she was only 100th behind me and the girl that both got 3rd. So yeah, it's really close.
Maya Hare on Williams, is she a sophomore also?
She's a senior.
Oh, she's a senior, so you don't have to worry about her next year.
Yeah, no, yeah. But she really, I am glad she won. She really deserved it. It was a good race.
Right, because, you get 2 more shots at this, where this was her last chance.
Yeah. And out of the whole, if I wanted to give it to anyone, it would have been her. So, yeah.
So after a very busy second day, 3rd day you didn't have to swim at all. That must have been nice?
Yeah, it was very nice. I got to sit back and just watch swimming and not be stressed over it. I watched Emmy Daigle's 100 breasts. She had 100 breasts individually, and also our 8 free relay swam. So that was Erin, Bucky, and Maya, and Lucy and Caroline Sweeney. They all swam, and it was really fun to watch because we watched them train for the 2 free for the past month. So it was fun.
Well, for the women, this was a lot of first-timers at nationals. What was not for you? You went last year, but what was it like seeing them? Being able to finally get the chance to swim on the biggest stage.
It was fun. It's interesting to see how it feels swimming with them at NESCAC and then go to nationals because I don't know. It's kind of it is a bigger stage, and they do rise to the occasion when it comes to it. And we're all coming back all Americans, and that's like a great feeling, because I don't know, we were all expecting to get a few all Americans, but the fact that we all did it was awesome.
Yeah, no one feeling left out or anything.
No one feels left out. Exactly, yeah.
I saw that there was a lot of pride in seeing Lucy swim her mile for the final time, right?
Yeah, it was an awesome race. She was next to an Emory girl, and kind of coming from a small school and coming from a NESCAC school, all the NESCAC schools, we cheer for each other, and we are all like hoping the best for each other. So to beat those big D3 schools like Emory, Denison, and Kenyon, so when she's head-to-head with this Emory girl, we're screaming our heads off for Lucy to go. And the fact that she just went 3 seconds like from the time she went from NESCAC was awesome. That's great.
Right, because Emory, don't they win it like every year?
Yeah. I forget. I think the girls won this year, the Emory girls. But yeah, they're huge presence in the stands and just like everywhere. So
the NESCAC bands together, I saw they were like doing chants and everything. Right?
Yeah, we have this like New England cheer that we do, and we did it after the senior ceremony, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, any other thoughts on the trip to nationals and what you're looking forward to the next 2 seasons coming up?
I'm looking forward to seeing what our girls are able to do now going forward. I mean, Lucy was the only senior we are losing, which was a big loss in the distance area. But going forward, I expecting to see all these girls going to nationals again with all these girls, and even more, I hope. And yeah, I'm excited for the next 2 seasons.
The baseball team traveled to MIT on Wednesday and defeated the Engineers 7-4. Junior Nolan Collins struck out 6 batters over 6 innings of work to earn the win on the mound. And first-year Bryan Gotti gave Bates the lead for good in the first inning with a 2 RBI double. Gotti followed that up with a strong doubleheader against Plymouth State on Sunday. He tallied 4 hits over the course of 2 games, smacking a pair of doubles and driving in 2 runs in Game 2 to help Bates earn a doubleheader split with the Panthers. Gotti is hitting .303 on the season through 11 games, and he is our male Bobcat of the week. Male Bobcat of the week, Bryan Gotti, with us here on the Bobcast, talking some baseball. And Bryan, tell us a little bit about your background. When did you first start playing baseball? I know a lot of kids, start at T-ball and work on up. How did it go for you in terms of your, career in baseball up until coming to Bates?
Absolutely. I was one of those kids that started right away playing T-ball. My older brother, my dad threw us right into it, and I absolutely loved it from the beginning. Played up through the ranks, got to Westwood High School, which was my first high school. Played there for 2 years, and I transferred to Belmont Hill, where I really grew as a baseball player. And I was actually a pitcher for a while before I switched over when I went to Belmont Hill to a first baseman. And I've absolutely loved every moment of it, playing in the summer, playing in the fall whenever I can, as long as there's not snow on the ground, I try to get on the field as much as possible.
So you got that 6'4" frame. When did that growth spurt hit for you?
I've always been big. It's funny, I was bigger than my kindergarten teacher in kindergarten, which I always thought was funny. But I reached 6 feet in about 8th grade, so I've been really big for a long time. And, I've been working on filling out that frame and, modeling how I want it to be and, adjusting it to how my play style works. So
you mentioned you used to be a pitcher, then you moved to first base. It reminds me of Moneyball and, first base. It's not that hard. It's incredibly hard. What were your thoughts on adjusting to first base in terms of defensively?
I mean, it's 2 totally different games. As a pitcher, you don't have the offensive side of it, and you're involved every play. You control the pace of the game. At first base, it's a lot different. Defensively, it's not too difficult to get used to. It's still a difficult place, doing picks and everything, makes it difficult. But I think the offensive side was definitely the biggest change, because for a bunch of summers, coaches had put me on the mound and said, you're not hitting, you're just doing this. And I finally had coaches who believed me and put me at the plate, and I produced right away, and I grew as a hitter. So definitely, I think hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports. I mean, people who fail are in the Hall of Fame for hitting, so it's funny how that works. But I definitely think that those people who believed in me and let me hit, saw the true potential in me, and I kind of saw my true potential at the plate as well.
When you started hitting more regularly, as a left-handed bat, what were some adjustments you had to make? I mean, I know for left-handed hitters it can be tough against lefty pitchers sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Facing lefties was something I was really unfamiliar with. There weren't a lot of them when I was growing up and actually still hitting. That and, adjusting to really good off speed, because in BP, you're just throwing a bunch of fastballs and stuff, sometimes mixed in an off speed. There's only so much preparing you can do there. So when you get a really good pitcher on the mound, I faced a guy who was drafted in the 3rd round my junior year of high school, and he threw 96, and his off speed was his best stuff, and he struck me out all 3 times I faced him, and from there on, it's just learning how to deal with the off speed, and if you can prepare for that, I know I can hit fastballs. If you can prepare for the off speed, make the adjustments you need to do, and simplify your swing, then you'll be all set.
I'm curious, when you're looking at colleges, what made Bates the place for you?
For me, the thing that sold it was Coach Martin. I came on the recommendation from a coach from Babson, actually, Coach Ginsberg, who's, my dad had met throughout the recruiting process and stuff. And I wasn't really looking to go to school that close to home. Babson's in Wellesley. It's a fantastic institution. I love the place. It's awesome. The coaching staff's amazing. I know some of the players. They're absolutely great guys. But for me, it was when I first had that first conversation with Coach Martin. I think that kind of sealed the deal. I figured this was a guy I could grind for every day, put it all on the line for, and someone I could really be under for my next 4 years here. I think the coaching is a big thing for me, because if you and the coach don't communicate well or aren't really on the same page, it doesn't make it as fun and a little more stressful. But I think with him, it's free flowing, but everyone knows when to bear down and get the work done, and it's a fantastic atmosphere.
It sounds like you played, get some really quality competition when you were in high school, high draft picks and everything. But high school, the levels can vary. What's been adjustments maybe coming from high school to college?
For me, I was, blessed to play in a league, the ISL, that has really high competition. I have friends of mine from my school who play college baseball, friends from other teams, and you build a lot of relationships there. For me, I think facing certain pitchers, there's a lot of similarities. We faced guys that were high-end D1 arms who were either young or in their senior year and stuff. So we definitely saw the best from what high school has to offer, I think. And coming into the NESCAC, I know that each team has an ace or two that's really good. It's gonna be every one of those pitchers. So it's all about driving up their pitch count, getting them out of the game, working deep into that bullpen. Because when you have those 3-game series, it's all hands on deck, and if you can get those big guys out of the game, then you're pretty good offensively.
Interesting. I've noticed, on this team, you, Truly, White, you guys are kind of sluggers, if you will, big hitters, and probably competing for some playing time there, right? Because first base is DH, and that's about it sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think one more name you absolutely have to throw in the list there is Noah Laughlin. He's actually been one of our better hitters in the chances he's had, and I absolutely love the kid. He's actually helped me through some rough times through the season, which has been fantastic. But I think all 4 of us are absolutely fantastic hitters, and we make it really hard to leave our names out of the lineup. And we push each other every day to get better, because we know if one of us slips up, the next guy's right behind us ready to go, and he's going to produce the numbers that you couldn't at the time. It's all about keeping that, high level of production. But, it's all love between the 4 of us. It's fantastic. There's no malintentions, no malfeelings between playing time. The 4 of us, we all work together, work to get better, and we work to help the team.
So NESCAC play starting this weekend. I mean, it's 12 games, and that decides who gets in the tournament, right?
Absolutely. Every game matters. It's crazy. I felt like the tough series in the fall was so far away and was never going to get here. Yeah. But here we are the week of the game, and I think we're coming in really strong. Coming off a 16-hit Game 2 against Plymouth State, I think our heads are in the right place. Our pitching staff has worked really hard. They're looking really good right now. So I think everything's clicking at the right time. It's going to take a great week of practice to get ready for it. But, Tufts is a fantastic team. I know some of the guys on the team. I actually played for one of the coaches one of my summers. I know they're a class organization, so I know that it's going to be a long Friday and Saturday. It's going to be some hard games that come down to the wire, and, I think if we can win those late innings, then I'm confident in us in the series.
For you, back at the plate a little bit, it certainly looks like you had the potential to be, kind of a home run hitter, if you will. You've got a lot of doubles so far this year. Is one of your goals, maybe in college, to turn those doubles into homers, perhaps?
Absolutely. Yeah. For any power hitter, he prides himself on the amount of home runs he gets. Yeah. Doubles are fantastic. Extra base hits, I love them. But, for me, in high school, I was, the home run hitter. In college, I want to have that same reputation, And that's all about, I've come close a couple times, And, you get the guys, John, saying weight room and stuff in the locker room. And that's true. It's just catch a ball right, in the right time, right field, and it'll go. But it's also, making myself better in the weight room. The more strength I build, the farther the ball's going to go. It's simple like that. But, as simple as it sounds, it's something I need to definitely commit myself to throughout my career. And, I think as the years go on, as I get stronger, I think more and more balls will be leaving the park.
All right, Bates at Tufts this weekend. Bryan Gotti, Male Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The rowing teams travel to Boston this weekend to open their spring season. The men are coming off their first appearance at the IRA National Championship Regatta last spring, and the women look to win a third straight NCAA Championship this year. No, neither team has gone on the water yet this spring, but head coach Peter Steenstra is used to that.
It's the same thing it's always been, right? We just train throughout the winter. The kids are working on their own, and then when we get together in Florida for February 15th or so, get a weekend, a week of rowing down there, sort out a few things, find out who's able to still make the boat go well, and then we come back home and we're inside for a month, and they just train together, and we spend a little more time trying to find ways to fine-tune their stroke, or at least aspects of it, when we're indoors. We've got the ergometers, obviously, but then we also have poolside rowing stations that we use in the pool, and we try to stay out of the way of the swimming team because they're busy and doing what they're doing. They're quite good, going NCAAs, which is awesome. So we're happy to see that. But the longer they're racing, the less time we get in the pool sides. But we've been able to work it out and got some time in there.
Great, and then the women's team was just recently honored at the NCAA tournament. You've done that before. What's that experience like for you and for the women?
Oh, it's fun. For me, it's unique in that I don't have anything to do. I don't even have to drive the trailer anywhere. So sitting on the bus for me is completely foreign. So it was a nice drive down, and being able to go into a big stadium like that and get recognized by 16,000 people is not something that rowers typically experience even when they're racing or doing something else. But it was just fun, and get to stand on the court and you watch 7-foot guys playing basketball, and it's a fun time.
For sure. All right, so tell us about who the teams are racing this weekend.
Yeah, the men are doing their annual with the Harvard Lightweights, real early season stuff, which is nice. And that's a big program of 5/8 worth of rowers, and obviously it's Harvard, so a lot comes with that, and it's fun for us to be able to just match up against such a good program that's supposed to beat us easily. So at any point, if we can kind of hang on to them, then it's fun for our guys. And then we'll see Boston College, which is a club that sort of has had ups and downs over the years, but they're clearly on an upswing right now. Had a good spring last year, and they're kind of back into being a big program. They've got 5/8 worth of guys as well. And then Trinity's there, so we have a nice NESCAC opponent to go along with it. On the women's side, it's Simmons is the actual host of the regatta, sure. But then the MIT Lightweights, we're racing them, as well as the Trinity women will be there.
Okay, great. Yep. Well, you mentioned the men, Harvard Lightweights. That must not be particularly intimidating since they were competing against the heavyweights last June, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd think so, but those guys are they're wily. Is probably the best way to say it. But they're clearly a hardworking group, and they're very fast. They're all fully recruited, and they're from around the world, and right. And all that. But it's a good early season test for us. If we're anywhere near them at all, then we know that we have some good speed, especially at a time when we haven't been on the water except for a week in February.
How are the boats looking compared to what you did at the head of Charles this past fall?
Pretty similar. On the women's side in particular, we had a couple of people coming back from abroad. So with them coming back, it's nice. And we've got we have one of the returning varsity 8 members from the fall who has got an injury, so that's Sally Harris Porter. She's kind of dealing with that through this week, so she won't be racing this weekend. Okay. But having the juniors back from abroad is big, and there's a couple strong people in there, so we'll see how it goes.
Tell us about your captains on both teams.
Yeah, the captains are good, in a good position. We've got Rintel, or Sophia Rintel. We've got Sophie Claus is another one, and then Claudia Glickman. So those are the 3 women's captains. They're a good bunch. They work well together. They each have their strengths. They each have distinctly different personalities, I would say, and they've been able to work well with us, with our coaching staff, pretty easily. On the men's side, it's Eric Jordan and Trevor Fry, 2 distinctly different people, which is great to see, because it's fun to watch them just trying to work together as a couple of captains and guys that they share this common thread that is a sport. And I just honestly don't know that they would even know each other if it weren't for the fact that they both love rowing and they're a part of a good program. So they're figuring all that aspect out. But we're so far into the year at this point that they've kind of worked through most everything, and it's just time to perform.
How specifically do their personalities differ?
Yeah, Eric Jordan is a pretty intense guy. If you can crack a smile on him, then you're doing something right. And Trevor Fry is one of the nicest people around that you're ever going to meet, and he's very aware of what the team's pulse is and how everyone's feeling, and he seems to know every single person on campus. Anytime I'm standing there with a guy, at least 10 people walk by and say hi to Trevor, so he's pretty well known, I guess.
And then on the women's side, Rintel's been doing this since she was a first year in terms of being in the first boat, right?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, you could say that she's pretty battle tested at this point. So,
right.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing, and she's leading from that position of being in the stern end of the boat and being a senior and being a longtime member of the Varsity 8.
Is it a good thing that you have these seniors who still remember what it's like not to win a national championship?
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
We don't spend a lot of time looking back. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Right.
They're very focused on what is the task at hand and moving forward into the season, and we're a long way from NCAA's, much less anything else. So we've got our work cut out for us, and yeah, they're ranked first in preseason polls and all that kind of stuff, but no one's even been on the water yet, so sure. Who knows what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, surveying the landscape of women's rowing, Williams is, going to have a presence of some sort. You've seen Ithaca in recent years. Who are some other schools Bates should keep an eye on this year, maybe when you're looking forward to maybe seeing them compete with before NCAA's or at NCAA's, perhaps?
Yeah, I know I'm supposed to know this right away, but there's nothing to go on. I mean, we have Charles results, and then we have a whole bunch of people just like us who have kids coming back from abroad. But really, there isn't any way to know, because anything that we're doing in our spring training trips is just scrimmage work, and you're not really supposed to be posting any of those results. Right. So I would say that Wesleyan's going to be strong as usual, and Williams will be strong. WPI is going to be strong because they're the ones that kind of made it to NCAA and then sort of surprised a lot of people with a big third-place team finish. Yeah. But I think the field continues to improve as training deeper into the divisions is only going up. There's no one in the rowing world who's saying, you know what, let's not bother with it. We'll just let it go as it is, and we won't try to get any better. Everyone is obviously trying to get better, and so they're changing what they're doing, and that makes for more interesting races.
Do you get more of a sense by New England's or before that, perhaps?
I mean, we'll know more within the next 3 weeks here. Yeah. And we're the ones that are kind of going into exam time, and then we have that nice break where we get to do a lot of training leading into the New England Championships. But I think we'll have a good idea of who the real competitors are in this region by the week before New England's.
Rowing, obviously the ultimate team sport, everyone working in unison. The coxswains stand out a little bit because they're the ones not rowing, right? They're the ones instructing and motivating. Who are the coxswains this year on the men and women's side?
Well, the easy part is I can say that Liza Folsom on the women's side is varsity 8, and you got Elise Grossfeld is the women's second 8, and so things on the women's side are a little bit more clear cut. And on the men's side, at this point, I wouldn't even say who the top coxswain is. We have a senior in Ariel Lee. We've got junior in Holland Doyle who came back from abroad. We have a really strong up and coming first year Saltman, Evan Saltman. We call him Salty. And then we have a pure novice who's just getting better leaps and bounds, Aiden Temperino, who started out with us last year, but he just keeps getting better and better all the time. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic on the men's side for the coxswains, and unfortunately we have 4 coxswains, and there's going to be someone who doesn't have a boat come race time. So we've got some work to do there to figure out who's who.
So interesting. So Aiden came in to Bates having no experience at all being a coxswain, and you end up taking. I remember Aiden to IRAs last year. He didn't necessarily be a coxswain on the boat, but was there.
Yeah. Not only that, but he ended up filling in at the Charles this fall.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Ariel Lee was the coxswain scheduled for that race. She ended up having to fly out of town and was going to fly in, and there was a problem with the flight, and so she didn't make it. So we had to,
Good luck.
Tempe just jumped in and said, "I got a coach. I'll take care of it." And he did the best he could. And they had a disappointing piece down there, but you can't say it was all just him and his driving. So I would say that he kind of took it on the nose down there with that race, but at the same time he was willing to stick his neck out and do it. Yeah. Right? He could also have said, "No, I don't want to do that right now," and he would have probably been justified in doing that. But no, he stepped up to the occasion and did the best he could, and I think that he learned a lot about himself and his courage level and everything, and again, just adding that into the mix of the year, it's going to be interesting.
Do you see a lot of competition for the first varsity 8 this year, men and women's side, or is it set somewhat at this point?
Oh, we're not even
not
even close. A lot of competition.
Yeah.
On the men's side, it's a big first-year class, so there are at least 2 guys that are pretty securely in that boat, but there's at least 2 others that are knocking on the door. And on the women's side, we have, I would say we have 11 deep as far as people who can make that group. So it's injuries and things like that aside, we have a long way to go to figure out who's going to be making up these 8s.
Yeah. What are you most looking for? What are you trying to notice this weekend, your first kind of regatta, first time on the water in quite a bit?
I'm looking forward to just seeing liquid water.
Yeah.
That's my number one thing. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see if we have all the parts for all the boats and if everything's going to go together properly and all that kind of
Logistics.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we're just excited to get on the water. I mean, the athletes have been working hard. Even long before me and the other coaches came in, they've been working hard, and I think that they're getting a little tired of being in the erg room, and who can blame them, right? It's there's just only so much erging you can do before you start to lose it a little bit.
All right, well, we're looking forward to seeing the Bobcats out on the water this weekend down in Boston. Peter Steenstra, thanks so much for previewing the rowing season.
Great, thanks.
Next time on the Bates Bobcast, we'll recap the opening weekend of NESCAC play for the softball and baseball teams. The lacrosse teams take on Hamilton this Saturday, with the men hosting the Continentals at noon on Garcelon Field. We'll recap all that and more next time on the Bates Bobcast.
Bates, Bobcats.